When when a person who is in professional sports gets out, we know no longer are professional athletes necessarily lunkheads, and all brawn. But where do they go? There's no room for a 40 or 50-year-old baseball player or basketball player, Bob. Now, you have found the answer, but what about other professional athletes?
Well, I just talked to Jerry Kramer recently, and he said that all the great guys on that Packer team are all very highly successful in business. Like Willie Wood has I don't know exactly the product, but he's got a great business in L.A., and Bart Starr's got a business. I think they translate from the world of sport to the world of business rather easily.
That didn't always used to be true, though, did it?
No, it didn't. And in fact, if a guy didn't make the transition pretty quickly, he was in trouble. But I don't know about most guys, but I'm still in shape and I'm still training. They've got this master's program for the old track guys. I wish they'd have kind of a master's program for some of the old baseball players and let them come back and play a game about every other year.
Well, the Yanks have their old-timers game about once a year, but that's not enough to keep you in shape. Your bag now happens to be motivational, sales, talking, research, and so forth. Were you always interested in that?
Well, Milt, I started speaking when I was 18, and I'm 47 now, almost now. I think it's the greatest work in the world to motivate people. I've given about 11,000 speeches, and I don't think there's any more exciting moment than to see a crowd of people all of a sudden get a new idea of what they can do with their lives, what they can become. I wouldn't be in anything else but motivation. I think it's the greatest work in the world.
Now, this week, you happen to be here on behalf of the Mobile Homes Manufacturers Association. Would your message differ if you were talking to a refrigerator manufacturers, for instance?
No, Milt, I'd give them pretty much the same stuff. The feeling that you can be what you think you can be, the idea that in every person there's so much more potential than what we ever think or dream of, and that if you'll stick to anything, develop an ability to come back, no frustration can beat you, that you can go right to the top, just like a lot of great athletes. I find the correlation between great champions in sport and business people or great people in the spiritual world or education, that the correlation is very profound.
It's transferable.
Yes. Motivation is a common denominator. You talk about a motivated person in sport, and you're talking to a motivated businessman, because it's the same stuff. The feeling content, the will, the thought processes, they're all the same.
We have a lot of mothers, a lot of housewives in the audience this morning. And it's been the job and the problem of parents since time immemorial to motivate their children. And there are no textbooks on that.
No, they sure aren't.
How do you get an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old to be motivated to accomplish something, to make something of himself, either in school, after school, as a human being?
Well, Milt, you're aware that if I could give all the answers to that, I'd be the most brilliant man that ever lived, and probably the richest. But all I can say is this. I've never met a champion, but what a mother, a father, a coach, a sweetheart, somebody provided for that guy or girl a pocket of positive thinking, what I call the atmosphere of greatness. And the greatest thing that a mother and father can do is to continually create an atmosphere of greatness for their children. Tell them they're going to be the greatest artist, the greatest musician, the greatest scholar, the greatest scientist, the greatest athlete that ever lived. Tell them that they can do these great things. See, most of us play the other game. We tell our kids they can't do anything. We surround them with an atmosphere of negativism. And we wonder why our kids condemn the country and condemn everything all around them. It's because they've lived in the atmosphere of condemnation. You tell kids they can do great things and they'll become great. Now, this is the only theory I have.
Or you talk about champions, and you're one yourself, but let's face it, most of us and most of our children are in the great middle level of accomplishment. We're middle-class people who try, but to whom few of whom reach the Mark Spitz or the Bob Richards category of championship.
Thank you. He won 7. I just won.
Yes, but you had done so tremendously in 3 successive Olympics. Yeah. You won 2 gold medals while we're talking about it, and one bronze. which is an extraordinary thing if you've done it only once. You did it 3 times. So you really are, all modesty aside, in a category by yourself as a world champion. Most of us don't achieve that. Now, are you fooling kids by saying you're going to be the world's greatest?
No, Milt, I'm probably the most average guy you'll ever look at. I'm 5'10", I weigh 185 pounds. Average ability, average brain. The only difference between me and 10 million other kids in America is I began to think that I could do it. Now, it's the secret of Mark Spitz. When Spitz was breaking all these records, everyone was saying, well, he's got a bend in his leg, he can kick better, or the humpback gives him a better position in the water. That's ridiculous. Mark Spitz is great because Mark Spitz trained 10,000 hours, and he had a dream, and he went out for the world record. There are 10 million Mark Spitz in America today, if they'll pay the same price. See, most of us operate on about 1% of our capacity. Sadler, the great psychologist, said that 99% of the people use 1% of their abilities. Now, you're right, most of us are what we call median.
Right.
But only because we choose to be that way. If you want to be great, you can be great. For example, if you go and run around the block tonight, you're in the upper 1% of the world. If you read a book a month, you're in the upper 1% of the world. If you make 15 grand a year, you're in the upper 1% of the world. Do you realize this? It's not hard to be great. We are mediocre only because we choose to be mediocre.
For many years, you were identified with Wheaties.
Yeah.
Now, recently, they have given it, some of the federal bureaus have given it to the cereal foods for not being as nutritious as they want. We're not going to hang that on you. But you received really a second bonus of fame as being a TV personality. Did you enjoy that TV commercial work?
Oh, sure. I like most of the things I do. However, the federal guy that did this didn't know anything about cereals, number one. Number two, if you applied it to all food, you wouldn't buy anything at the grocery store. Now, I'm not defending any product, but I'm saying it's so easy to get notoriety by condemning nowadays. Everyone wants to make it big in politics and so forth by condemning everything. What this country needs is more people who talk about how great the country is, how great our products are, our high standard of living, our health, etc., etc. Everyone's on the negative kick, see? I would like to see people get on the positive kick because, see, this is a great country, but by all the stuff that's been written, you wouldn't think it is.
Well,
recently,
by not referring to it, can you get rid of it, Bob?
No, and I'm not saying we don't have problems, but I'm saying that the mind can go sour, and intellect can go sour. If you think only of the negative things and only of the bad things, you get to the tendency to believe that it's all bad. I recommend something that you won't believe. Read the Statistical Abstract of the United States. Now, that's a crazy thing to recommend to anyone. Just go down through the statistics in this 1,500, 2,000-page book. We live in a great society in probably the greatest time of history, and yet to hear everyone talk, you'd think it's a terrible culture and the worst time in history.
Bob, I have a very personal question. You turn this way. Could you explain that lipstick on your cheek there, pal?
You're pulling my leg, I bet you. Is there some here? Oh, well,
these fellas
I
here.
probably kissed Fred Herman's wife a little while ago, I imagine. But my wife's not with me. But,
and it shows to see that you stand out wherever you go. People.
Oh, I never turned down a kiss, I'll tell you that.
We've enjoyed it very much.
Milt, enjoyed talking to you.
The power of positive thinking.
It is a great power, you know, and it made America.
Very good.
And the new generation, believe it or not, will be the people who will be the positive thinkers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milt.
Our guest this morning has been 3-time Olympic standout Bob Richards here for the Mobile Homes Convention. We'll be back at Omelet with more in just 1 minute. Thought I was putting you on.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I was looking straight at it for 15 minutes when my curiosity got the better of me.
Fred Herman and I do a lot of work. His wife's here with him.